I've got 5 things that encompass a lot of different things, but here are the 5 tips for being a good ABA parent. Tip number 1 is to make ABA a priority. And I wrote that, and as soon as I wrote it, I thought, oh, what I really want to say is to make ABA the priority. But I do realize, and recently at one of the talks that I gave, met a dad who said, we haven't been able to start ABA because I couldn't make it the priority because I was going through cancer treatment and that had to be our family's priority. So I do want to leave room for the fact that sometimes people have other things going on that are life and death, that are bigger than ABA, right? I get it. But if you can, at the very least, you have to make it a priority, and if you can, make it the priority. You know, when we set out and we say, this is what I'm trying to do and this is where I'm trying to get, and if we're that level of clear with ourselves, then we will be that level of clear with the entire team. It is so important. And when I say make it a priority, make it the priority, you know, the level of things that I'm talking about when you set your schedule, when you sit down with the calendar and say, you know, here's what we're going to devote our time to. And I think you have to be that active, that present to say, here is how we're going to spend our time. It needs to be the priority. So often I'm hearing from families and from therapists dealing with families saying, you know, they're not getting their full hours because they're not available because they've got karate and because they've got ballet and they've got Little League. And I want you to know that as a parent, those things are so important. And those are the things that we're all fighting for, to have the ability to go to karate, to do Little League, to be in the ballet class, all of those things. But the truth of the matter is if you don't make ABA a priority, it's possible that you'll just spin your wheels and make yourself and everybody else miserable. If your child isn't ready to go to Little League or ballet and get the most out of it and be social, they will be miserable, you will be miserable, and you will find yourself at loggerheads with the other parents, and you'll be resentful. I promise you that you will. Instead, set the priority of doing ABA, and it might take a year or 2 that you don't get to do Little League. And I know it's something to mourn over, but imagine if you could spend the time doing ABA so that in 2 years' time you could do Little League and do it like you dream of doing it. And that's the difference that really prioritizing ABA can do. So we did ABA for 5 years, and the first 2 years it was very intensive, and we had to make up a schedule. And when we made up the schedule, one of the pieces of advice that Autism Mom gave me, she said, don't put anything on the schedule that's a priority before them being able to schedule a therapist. Obviously, you know, we had 40 hours of ABA in that first year, 40 hours a week of ABA. And that's really the thing that we're fighting for, especially for our younger kiddos that are not in school, 25 to 40 hours a week. There were things that we wanted to do in addition to that he had speech and he had OT, and there were other things that we did, but all of that waited to get scheduled until after we were told when therapists were available to come. Eventually, in the 3rd year, we took 1 day off the schedule. We said Sundays, we're not going to do therapy on Sundays, but we waited 2 years to do that. And it was okay at that point to do that. 7 days a week, whenever they were available, we made ourselves available. And that was good advice that mom gave me, and so I passed that on to you. Make sure that you attend. And by that I mean attend everything. This is what making it the priority is. For the Center for Autism and Related Disorders, you have regular clinics, which is when your entire team gets together and sits down and goes over what the programs are that are working. They will work on it individually in front of you with the child so that you get to see what those are. I am frightened when I hear that parents are choosing not to regularly attend their clinic meetings. You have to set that as a priority. And it has to be both of you. It can't just be one person. Imagine for a moment that if you were going to go to an appointment where they were going to talk about treatment for your child because of pediatric cancer. Would you at that point, would one of you choose to miss the meeting? And I know that sometimes it's hard to realize that it's that important, but it's your child's entire future. It is so essential that you be at those meetings. It is essential for your child. It is essential for you. It is essential for your relationship with whoever, no matter if you are divorced or separated, it is essential that you get on the same page and that you're both at those meetings. You will learn so much from them. It has to be a priority, and it has to be a priority for you to learn. Studies are flooding in now showing that the outcomes for children whose parents have the training to withhold what is being done do better. It's not a coincidence, and it's not something we just think or feel. It's being documented left, right, and center. And by the way, the parents that know and have learned these techniques and have attended those meetings, not only are their children doing better, but their stress level is lower than the parents who haven't attended. So do yourself the favor, make ABA the priority. And definitely the last thing I have under make ABA the priority is ask questions. If you are involved and you're in it, then you're going to ask questions. So ask, ask, ask. Okay, the second biggest piece of advice is to be on the team. Think of yourself that way, label yourself that way, and act accordingly. If you're a member of a team, then you're going to participate, right? You're going to participate in the decision making. You're going to participate in the design of what's happening, in the vision of where you're going, the implementation, and the training that happens. Be a part of the team. I still, on our bathroom mirror, have a piece of paper that says, the team is only as good as the weakest player, and I will not be the weakest member of Jem's team. I had to fish it out because the last time we moved, it wasn't up, and I put it back up on the mirror. It's so important that you think of yourself as being on the team, and you let others on the team know you're there and you're on the team. And by the way, it takes everybody who is in the family to be on the team. Let your kids, let the dog know that they're on the team. If you're the wife and you're the team manager, fine, but make sure that your significant other knows that they're on the team as well. Let everybody know. I treat the people at school that way too. If they do something and they make a decision, I say, hi, I'm on the team too. You got to let me know. You got to notify me. It makes people respect where you are and helps you to respect yourself, and you get more done. Okay, the third tip is to know the ABCs of behavior. And actually, we had a question about that too. Somebody said, can you explain that again? And I'm going to do that in a couple of minutes. But knowing the ABCs of behavior, you have to know what an antecedent is. You have to know what consequences are. You have to know what the usual suspects of challenging behavior are. And you have to know what maintains behavior. I'm going to go over all of that in just a few minutes. But knowing the ABCs of behavior is going to help you immensely. There's so many more things that you can know about ABA if you learn and if you get inquisitive, but the very basics, you've got to know those ABCs of behavior because it's going to be your toolkit, your center toolkit. The fourth piece of advice, you must follow through. Everything that you decide to do, that means follow through on the schedule. If you said that you were going to be available Monday through Friday, and that's all you can manage for whatever reason, whatever's going on in your family, then be available Monday through Friday. When the going gets tough, right, you still have to stick to the plan. There's going to be a day I can remember so distinctly being at a Walmart with my mother. My mother was visiting, and we were in the middle of something, and she was trying to figure something out at Walmart that involved measurements. I don't even remember what it was. And she said, if I just had 15 more minutes, we could stay here and do this. And I said, unfortunately, we have to go. We have a therapist who's going to be at our door at 10 minutes, and I don't like to be even a minute late. And she said, but couldn't you just be 10 minutes late this once? No, we can't. We're sticking to the schedule. You got to stay the course. Chart your map and then stick to the course. Make sure that you follow through on the interventions. If the team says to you, look, for the next 2 weeks, we're really going to take on something really difficult. And that means we got to make sure that we've got reinforcement that really is meaningful to your child. So I know that your child loves chocolate cake, but we're going to ask you not to feed your child any chocolate cake except when we're here. And you know what? It's not usually chocolate cake. It's usually the thing that you least want to not have to limit for your child. You know, it might be the television, it might be video games, it might be their favorite toy, but they are going to ask you at some point, we need to limit this just so that it's that much more powerful when we get there. It's going to hurt. You're not going to like it, but you got to follow through. You got to believe in the path. You've sunk yourself in and said, we're going to do this, so do it right. Do it with your whole heart. Imagine if you were going to, you know, invest the time and the energy and the money to get your child ready for the Olympics and what that would be. And you'd know that if in the middle you started to go, maybe we don't have to do Tuesdays, the likelihood that you would get where you want to get, not so much, right? And then you live with regret. So if you've made the plan, you've set the priority, follow through on it, and make sure that you follow through on getting yourself trained so that you understand what they're doing and why they're doing it. Used to be we just had to soak it in, that we'd have to watch therapy sessions and ask questions. Now, I really want to recommend that you get trained using those trainings that are at the Institute for Behavioral Training. You can do it at your own time, whenever you want. Pick the topics that you want. It's easy to get trained now as a parent. Make the commitment for yourself and for your family and for your child that you're going to do that. And then the last thing is to reward. Reward, reward, reward. You've got to reward yourself. You've got to reward your team, you've got to reward your family, and most importantly, you've got to reward the child who's going through the intervention. To let any time that they're doing good behavior, we're rewarding. Anytime that there are attempts at doing the good behavior, and by good behavior, I mean whatever the targeted behavior is. If you're trying to teach something and you're saying, point to this, that's good behavior. Even if the finger is coming out and it's curved and it's not actually, reward the attempt, right? It's so important. It's easy to forget to reward yourself. It's easy to forget to reward your other kids. It's easy to forget to reward your mother-in-law when she's supportive. But the truth is life gets so much better if we remember to reward. So reward, reward, reward. There will be people who will tell you, oh, you're rewarding too much. I don't see how that can be possible as long as you are rewarding things that you want to see continue to happen. Let's not reward the behavior where the child is kicking and screaming or biting or any of the challenging behavior that we're trying to circumvent, right? That we're not going to reward. But the truth of the matter is if it's a good behavior, if it's an on-target behavior, you can't reward too much. Give the reward, let everybody feel the happiness of that. When you do these things, when you show up, when you make the priority, when you make the schedule, when you follow through, studies show your kid's going to make more progress, and it's worth it. If you're going to do it at all, do it right.